So happy Thorsday. This is a Thursday morning coffee rant with Dan. Hail Thor, god of lightning and thunder, protector of Midgard. Speaking of protectors, I talked to a recruiter not that long ago, a couple months ago. And this recruiter, an order follower, you know, even people in the military don't like or trust the recruiters. Trying to get me to say some things that I wouldn't otherwise be inclined to say. And did it in a very tricky kind of way. Now, I'm reaching out to order followers because they're the ones who are going to perform the immoral acts. And I know the oath I took to protect and serve. And I know most people that took those oaths, that's the part they paid attention to, is the protect and serve part. Now I'm suggesting, since the only service order followers are doing is to service to immoral politicians on both sides of the fence, don't even pay attention to the serve part anymore. Just protect. Remember that part of your oath. Okay? This guy was, a tricky dude. Luckily, I was able to research him and find out what he was about. But that won't keep me from reaching out. But what I did find out that was interesting, okay? And there's a reason why I bring this up, is they're disqualifying high school football players who twisted an ankle in the 11th grade from joining the military, thus weakening our military more than it's ever been weakened before. Now, I'm talking about the low-hanging fruit and the minutia. I'm not zoomed out. I'm zoomed a little more in right now. And so I'm not talking philosophically in any sense. I'm talking tactically. Our military is weaker than it's ever been, purposely. So I start seeing ads on Facebook that are allowed to be sponsored, which usually on these information sharing platforms, because that's what they are. I don't care if you're sharing information about your political opinion or the cupcakes you made. It's information. Only certain information is allowed. Other information is being censored. Which should make you, if you're an American of any cult, politically cult, question, whoa, that's not right, okay? I'm seeing these ads that are pandering to old people. Hey, elderly, over the age of 40, over the age of 50, do you want to join the military? So they're wanting to get old folks to join the military now that's been purposely weakened and short-staffed. And I've talked about psychic stuff and psychic friends, and that I've been called audience, and I think it's funny because as an ex-Marine, that means I hear voices, right? It's kind of funny. It has nothing to do with that, man. It's predictive analysis, which isn't an exact science, but it's pattern recognition and predictive analysis predictive analysis is based on past known facts. You can predict possible outcomes in the future. So one of those things on predictive analysis, and I've been right about so many things. I want to be wrong about these things. I've been right about these things since 2019. I'm calling them months and months ahead of time, which is not something I'm bragging about. I wish I was wrong about all of it. And I would admit if I was, which is something people need to start doing, is admitting, hey, we were bamboozled, we were fooled, we were wrong. As soon as you can do that, life changes for everybody, but that takes internal work. Anyway, I am predicting that next year at one point in time, they're going to probably have a draft. They're going to try to get people in this country to go fight in these immoral wars. And they are immoral. War itself is immoral. Okay? No human being has a right in creation to force or coerce another human being into committing violence. And you're not let off the hook just because you're following orders. Okay? You're not. Order followers understand what the politicians do. They throw you under the bus and say, I didn't want them to use that much force. That's not how they should be doing their job. And they'll speak in a way where you don't know what the fuck they're saying, which is why you have so many political analysts out there to try to decipher what they're saying after you hear their lies spewed on mainstream news, puke media. But anyway, before I even get going, I don't want to start. Anyway, then you guys will point the finger as order followers. I was one of them. Will point the finger and say, "Hey, we're just following orders." Okay, that means you're abdicating personal responsibility. I'll get to that later. But I had a conversation with somebody. It's a brief conversation, and it's funny when you start talking about religion, which is why I put up Hail Thor. I wanted to talk about how all the Sky Daddy religions have something in common, and they all are all the same. Okay, people will get mad about that. People will say, my God carried a hammer and your God was hammered to a cross. My God was a leader and your God was, I don't know, a follower or whatever, right? That's complete bullshit. That's ego. That's lack of research, lack of study, lack of introspection. It's not spiritual, okay? And I'm not sure. I think this might have been one of Mark Passio's slides. It probably is. But our souls, or our consciousness up there, okay, all the Sky Daddy religions have the same thing. There is a father, or masculine principle, which here would be the creator principle of the mind, linear thought. Then there's a Holy Spirit. Okay, the Holy Spirit, or the Spirit, is the sacred feminine. It's care. It's that motherly type of care. Okay, or goddess. And then there's the action. Okay, so one is thoughts. The father is thoughts. The mother is emotions, or the Holy Spirit. And then the action is their son. So Zeus, this god, made love to a human woman, and there's the father and the female, and they have a demigod son named Hercules. Then there's Odin, who made love to a human woman, an earth goddess, and they had Thor, who was the sun. And then there's Yahweh, or Yaldabaoth, the desert Hebrew god, who, in Christian mythology, impregnated a female, and their son Jesus was on the earth. So the sons are all the action takers on the earth, and they're cursed to be on the earth with this thing they have to do on this evil prison planet. Okay, all religions are the same, period. And we make a mistake. I'm not going to get too far into religion, but we make a mistake when we decide to say God is a man. First off, true divinity you can't assign one gender to. Okay, look up Hermetic principles. Gender is in all things. Both gender is in all things. Everything has a male and female, or I should say a masculine and feminine aspect to it. And we're working towards getting that balance back, is what we're working at. As soon as we say God is this bearded guy in the sky, we are othering God. That's our ego to other, to try to understand better. We other God, we make ourselves further from God. Okay? We make ourselves further from God, and by doing so, we make ourselves further from our fellow human beings. Because God is actually in all things. We are all part of God. Jesus was trying to teach that in the Lost Book of Thomas. He told Thomas inside the cave, my God's greater than yours. Okay? The God of the Old Testament demanded blood sacrifices. Human and animal. And even animals bad. I'm not going to start preaching, but no loving God is the creative force of this universe does not want us murdering each other for it, as it experiences itself through us. When we die, we return back to the light. And I died twice, so this isn't based off of faith. It's based off of what I actually experienced. So God isn't this thing that's outside of us. God is within. The kingdom of heaven is within. This is what Jesus was trying to teach as he taught natural law. Okay? Jesus was against religion. And then we made a religion out of Jesus instead of following his actual teachings. Okay? God doesn't want us murdering each other. The truth of the world is the God of this world is a devil, and we do live in a satanic death cult. And when I say Satan, I'm not talking about some supernatural being with pointed ears and a tail and a pitchfork. Okay? It's a state of mind that is, and I don't know why we're not speaking more plainer. There's a force on this planet, an extraterrestrial force running this. This isn't human driven, folks. We need to start really just hammering that home. And that force is the leaders of this satanic death cult that's gone on throughout all of human history. Okay? There's some people in the middle trying to expose it. Jesus was too. And look what happens to the people who tried to expose it. JFK was also. The rest of the world here is depicted as, sheep. I know that can sound like an insult. There's nothing wrong with being a person that just wants to live your life, who might not be aware of certain things, especially in certain parts of the world. Because here in America, we're living in relatively low level of violence. Actually, the modern world has a relatively low level compared to, medieval times. But we are living in chaos right now. And part of this evil New World Order thinks that we are overcrowded. And the puppets for that evil extraterrestrial running this fucking world, these first tier puppets, I'll call them, think that we're overcrowded. And once again, they want to do another population call, which has happened throughout human history before. So they're telling you that we're overpopulated, and then they're offering you these jabs in record time. Come on, man. And we've got new variants coming out. It's common sense. It's not hesitancy. It's common sense. Okay. And believe me, many of us are getting tired trying to warn people and wake people up. And I'm trying to do it without yelling in anger, because all of a sudden, if you get angry, you're the bad guy for getting angry. Oh, let's forget about kids being murdered, but don't get angry. Get the fuck out of here, man. I don't want to even start. But again, we have to speak in code. So the incident that took place on October 7th, I haven't heard it said like this anywhere, even in alternative media, I don't think. Then again, I might have missed it, but let's just be plain and simple. Let's be honest. That was what's called a false flag event. False flags are what political parties and countries allow to happen to their own people, which will give them the excuse to then commit atrocities, genocide, homicide, mass homicide, genocide, and ethnic cleansing. Okay, the world is in a population control agenda, and a population cull is first. That's currently happening. Okay. We have to get out of our own egos and admit and heal ourselves to be able to see the truth. We have to educate ourselves. If we have educated minds, we're not going to be fit to be slaves. They know this. All right? So that takes reading. And there's still time to read. There's still time to read. In the comments, I'll have some links to some websites. Lots of information on there with lots of other research you can do. You can get into a rabbit hole and be gone for years, okay? We don't have time for that. What I would say is read Mass Engineering Human Consciousness by Jim Keith, and read Slave Species of the Gods by Michael Tillinger. You read just those two books, you'll start to have a better idea of what's actually happening. And then just look at history. And just in the last couple hundred years. Just like this was a psyop. Zelensky and Putin are good friends. What this war is really about is for Russia to test new armor and new weapons for the bigger war that's coming. Okay? They're friends. This was prior to the G20 or right after the G20 summit in 2019. Those are real fucking smiles. Those guys are friends, folks. I don't know what to tell you if you don't understand this. And I've used these images before, but I have to say, it has to be said again and again and again and again. Was that woman a terrorist? You know, it's an AK-47 at point blank range. They're about to make her head disappear. Okay? Over in that area of the world currently where things are going on from the October 7th incident, when little girls are shot, they're shot in their stomach or their ovaries. When little boys are shot, they're shot right in their fucking dicks. Okay? There's not only symbolism in that, but it's also in case they survive, they can't reproduce. But that's not me being mad about that or even using a curse word. How dare he use, did you hear that language? You're offended by language and you're not offended by children being shot? Get the fuck out of here. Seriously. Order followers, this is what you end up doing. Throughout all of human history, this is what order followers have done for their masters. As somebody who wants to serve and protect, what are you serving and protecting when you're forced to do this? And I don't care what country you're from. Oh, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't do that. I worked for a low-level government agency as law enforcement, and I got to see first fucking hand how political rivals within that agency in that little Game of Thrones used their law enforcement capacities to their own evil ends, their own selfish, greedy ends. And on a big level, we see that going on now with current politicians being investigated for this and investigated for that. They're using the law enforcement branch under them to do their dirty work for them. And the order followers are just doing it because they're following orders. And they want to bust the dirty politicians so we don't have to do bad things anymore. It's a game that's never ending, man. So terrorism, you're going to be called a terrorist if you want freedom. You're an extremist if you speak out and you speak in the middle someplace and you're not picking a side. Okay? Terrorism is a noun, and it's the use of violent acts to frighten the people in an area as a way of trying to achieve a political goal. Our police and military are used in that manner. And to people that I know, I was a cop for a long time, over 20 years. I'm not against you, I'm for you, man. I really am. I lost a police friend not too long ago on Facebook because of something I posted. That's okay, I'm going to lose some friends. But the moral ones out there, I'm not going to lose. The ones who are not afraid to do that internal work and look at things more objectively and examine themselves and have a critical eye for bad things going on around them. The good ones, I'm not going to lose. We'll never lose the good ones in that manner. Problem is you guys are going to be given a spectrum of choices to make in the future that range from bad to really bad to absolute worst. So I'm for you, I'm not against you. But to protect may mean keeping your oath, may not mean keeping your job. Okay? And with that, my final message is on this fine Thorsday morning is stop voting. Look up voluntarism. People ask, how would we have a voluntarist society, especially worldwide, a level 1 civilization, where we're all just human beings living under God's natural law? Okay? First, you have to diagnose the problem before we could actually come up with a solution and have a prognosis. In the comments, I'm going to have a link to an 8-hour presentation done by Mark Passio. You got 8 hours over the next few weeks to hear this out. And he breaks down what natural law is better than anyone I've ever heard. I've broken it down. Many people are now doing it, but we need more people to do it. And I'm going to do it in a very specific way on how I found out that I wasn't some immoral piece of trash for having unhealthy coping mechanisms. Now, this is why I said earlier, when I started talking about a draft I think is coming next year, okay? Gambling, which is one of the unhealthy coping mechanisms that I did not have, I would say if I was a gambling man, be looking for the draft to come next year, okay? And when I'm right about that, I'm not going to be happy. Start listening to what else people say who don't vote, okay? With that being said, I got a hoarse voice. I just got done getting over a regular cold. It wasn't the cooties. I'm okay. I'm at the tail end of it, okay? So my voice sounds funny. It's not because I've been screaming or anything. It's I've been coughing, actually. It's the fun of living in the change of weather area of the world that I live in. Anyway, this might be my last little thing I do of the year, but I got plans coming up in the new year, and hopefully we'll see what happens. Maybe some of us can get together and make some kind of difference, because when the talking stops, even worse stuff's going to start happening, man, and no one wants that. I definitely don't want it. So anyway, man, stay safe. Till the next time I get on here and talk, and I'm never going to stop talking, and don't you stop. Start talking, actually. Nothing but love and peace, man. Stay safe.